we've never had a smash like this. I mean, literally out of nowhere for absolutely no reason, with all the things going on that should make it surge. For instance, the Trump election, the crashing currencies around the world, the crashing bomb prices, all the political uncertainties around the world, the Italian referendum. But today I wrote about, I wrote about all that's going on in India and China and all the propaganda about how it's going to be confiscated and limited, and I think a lot of that is overblown. But this was what I call the peak propaganda, this insanity that just came out today from the European Union. I'm like, first of all, who's even listening? There may not even be a European Union a year from now. And they're saying, well, because there was this bombing in Germany of a shopping mall, we need to counteract all terrorist financing. So we want to arbitrarily be able to investigate and or confiscate cash, debit cards, Bitcoin, gold, as if you can confiscate all these things just because, it's their excuse to, create these power grabs like in India. But they, the Indian one is failing miserably. And in Europe, they don't even have power to do this anymore. So I fully expect 100%, 1000% that the fabric of the whole European Union is going to come apart in the next 12 months, especially when the elections in France and Holland and eventually Germany in the fall come around. These governments are doing between, this announcement, the ECB, or what they're doing in India. And of course, we have the same trial balloons out there and everyone else does as well. It's just a desperation power grab. This is what happens when the status quo collapses. They'll do anything and everything to stay in power. In fact, in India, I was talking about how now they're talking about rumors, more than just rumors, that India may actually not, instead of, quote, confiscate gold, as if they can do that, they may actually reduce the tariffs on gold in February when they put out their mid-year policy statement. And the fact is that this cash ban is failing miserably. It's destroying the nation, it's destroying the social stability. The economy may go from being theoretically one of the fastest growing in the world to recession in a record amount of time. And people are fighting back, and the black markets for gold are breaking out. And, and look at the rupee this morning on the verge. I mean, it's crashing. Look at how hard it's falling this morning alone to a new all-time low. And if this guy, like China, which is having massive outflows, but isn't stupid enough to limit the amount of gold, doesn't allow something of value into the country, he's going to see the whole thing implode. So I fully expect that right now we're seeing peak propaganda of gold, as we always do at the bottom. I mean, look, Harry Dent puts out an article. Harry Dent, who said the market's going to crash, and then a week or two ago he goes, oh, you know what? Maybe it won't crash. Maybe I was wrong on that, but don't worry, it will in the future. So he puts out this Merry Christmas, everyone. And by the way, if you gave anyone gold jewelry for Christmas, you better buy some puts to hedge against it because it's going to fall to $700. And I'm going, dude, you have one thing that's been going right for you, and that's gold only because it's been historically rigged. I mean, 2 months ago, it was 13 under 50. And so, again, the peak propaganda comes out, and everyone's going, oh, the Chinese are going to limit gold, and the Indians going to limit gold, and Europe's going to limit gold. And you know what? Demand's going to keep going up. And I just put out this article. I had found my holy grail chart finally 2 weeks ago. I wrote the article, the most important and gold bullish chart you'll ever see, showing unequivocally that the mainstream media, the Standard & Poor's, is now predicting what I had said all along, a 20+% decline in gold production, which started last year, not in the future. It started last year, for the next decade. And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's worse than that, and in silver as well. And we know that in platinum, it's going to be even worse than that. So again, rising demand. That's why you have record premiums in the East now, plunging supply, and who knows how low the inventories are. In fact, Ronan Manley, who's kind of like a Koos Jansen type guy who follows, the esoterics of the exchanges, just put out another article saying, as you might imagine, that the inventories that are scant to start with on the exchanges are overstated. So again, the rubber's going to hit the road in the physical markets soon. Certainly the Bitcoin market, which we're going to talk about in a second, is going to only further enhance the demand for gold and silver and shield it from the government draconian actions that they're going to attempt to stop Bitcoin unsuccessfully. Can't stop gold either. I mean, yes, it's a physical entity and it's less practical to move around in the black markets, but they've been doing it for 5,000 years. And, I was saying again today, like in Jurassic Park, where they say life finds a way. Well, when people see their currencies debased, they find a way to get through those black markets and to save themselves, let alone in India, where they're, the rupee's going to go to oblivion in a year's time because of what they did. And it started out the year at an all-time low. But as for Bitcoin, these guys don't understand anything, the Keystone cops that call central bankers. And if you think that they understand technology like blockchain technology and that they think they're going to stop it, they're going to be in for the biggest rude awakening ever. There is literally no way of tracking these things, and they're never going to be able to regulate it. They're never going to be able to tax it, and it's going to get smarter. I mean, the technology is already smart, but it's going to get a lot smarter and a lot more anonymous, and people are going to get a lot more savvy to it. And eventually, governments, are going to be dying out because Bitcoin and cryptocurrency will become the primary transactional currency, and the governments will have no way of stopping it. I mean, that's how money was always supposed to be, and that's how it's going to be. I mean, that's what I wrote back in May. I wrote Bitcoin and precious metals, twin destroyers of the fiat regime, because I said no government will ever be trusted again to issue fiat currency or a gold standard or any of that stuff. And so this is going to be the future. And in my article yesterday, probably one of the most important I ever wrote, why Bitcoin will make gold and silver go up. I'm trying to say is that it is going to, the use cases are going to expand so rapidly as these currencies are destroyed and governments do these draconian things. And the uptake is going to increase so rapidly. And the price, most importantly, of Bitcoin is going to rise so fast that governments are going to stop focusing so much on gold and silver, which is like the tortoise, and go after the hare, which is Bitcoin. And that's going to be also like Tar Baby, even more difficult to try to figure out how to stop. They can't even create propaganda against it because no one even understands it. So I think that the governments are going to stop fixating on gold and silver, especially because supply and demand is so tight there at the end of the rope already, and start focusing on Bitcoin, which will make their futility look even worse.